Welcome to session 1 in Unit 300, Managing People, where we're going to look at managing people, teams and individuals. By now you should have watched the ACAS video in the introduction, and although she was talking about it being a first management role, for some people it will be, but it's still relevant for those who've been in a position for a while. Because the relationship is different as a manager, team leader, supervisor, whatever your role is. And as she said, at that level, you have got direct connection with the employees and one of the greatest influences. It can include, as she said, leading the team. And we looked at areas of that in the last unit. It can look at motivation, and we're going to look at that today in this session. And then managing day-to-day tasks of the team and their performance, and dealing with individual issues, and we'll be looking at these areas as we go through this session. There's a handout that covers the ACAS video, which is quite good reading, which is in your resources. So let's have a quick recap of what we were looking at in the last session. We just started to say that what we looked at in the last session were we looked at some different leadership styles and some leadership theories and methodologies, and we looked at the impact of organizational culture around leadership. So aims for this session are to understand people and team management models and to understand performance management models for individuals. That means by the end of this session, you should be able to explain the difference between people management and managing teams. You should be able to describe different approaches to people management, describe the importance of team dynamics, and describe different approaches to team management. Also, you'll be able to explain the different motivational techniques, including how they can be applied to both teams and individuals, describe some performance management methods, and explain the importance of providing constructive feedback. So let's get started. So we've talked about people and team management already. Let's match them up and see how they differ, where their similarities are, because in reality there are a lot of similarities or a lot of synergy between the two when they're done well, but there are some significant differences. People management, as it sort of says in the title, really is about management of the people, our biggest resource. It's a human resource management issue. That'll cover things such as recruitment, any issues with terms and conditions, contract, ongoing support, holidays, pays, benefit, all those things that go along in the background that you class as admin, plus performance management, that could be appraisal, supervisions, feedback, developing, unlocking potential, and it can go as far as other things such as wellness of employees, employee motivation, communication, and it's about those employee relations and what they talk about as the psychological contract. That's those unwritten expectations about the relationship that you expect from your employees, distinct from those formal written contracted things. Taken together, they provide us with an employee-employer relationship, which we need to support and ensure that there's employee communication, that they've got a voice, that we're gaining individually employee engagement, that we're mediating or trying to stop any conflicts that could be arising, dealing with any health or absent management issues, ensuring that their diversity has been recognised and welcomed in the workplace, that we have flexible working practices that produce equality and a fair working place and fair treatment for them. A hell of a lot of stuff in there, but it's all about that ongoing support and guidance. Whereas management of the team is focused on the administration of a group as a whole, their ability to perform that particular function and reach the objectives that the organisation wants from them. Team management typically involves setting priorities and objectives for the team, monitoring and reviewing their progress and their performance, and motivating and supporting them with resources, encouraging and driving decision making, and then making sure that the team members all complement each other and assisting in that team building so that they can assist each other to reach their goals. Individual performance matters less, it's more about the team's overall performance, and making sure that all the individuals know their role and they can strive hard to make things work in unison. So it's different, it's a different requirement for what the individuals want in the people management to what management of the team involves, and we'll examine that as we go through it a little bit more. So let's take a quick look at some different approaches to people management. So after establishing what people management is about, let's look at two clear approaches that we can use towards it. The first is known as the soft approach, and it's all about having a longer term view, and that's about treating people well and believing that if we gain their engagement, then that will lead to good performance. It's about strong two-way communication. That's about engaging and allowing people to have a voice and looking for their input and their involvement. In a soft approach, you'll see motivation of non-financial types. So yes, they'll be paid a decent wage, but there'll be other motivations of looking to develop their skills, give them interesting roles, interesting jobs and responsibility, and hoping that to motivate them. And as I said there'll be a focus on job satisfaction and design. So we'll be looking for help and support from them to try and design their jobs to make them as interesting as possible, so that they've got some sort of motivation to complete them. There'll be some sort of participative leadership. So we talked about leadership styles before, but the leader will be involved. They'll involve with the team and themselves, and they'll build a relationship, because there'll be a flatter structure. It won't all be about the manager. There'll be responsibility and power shared out around the team, and there'll be an open team culture where people are encouraged to share their views, communicate, which will create creativity, and also builds that motivation within the team. The harder approach is normally recognisable by a short-term view where profit and performance are key, really at any cost, and that can lead to higher turnover, the hire and fire culture. As people are hired and fired as needed, there's no building skills for the future. It's what's needed now, and that leads to minimal communication. It's just really about telling, as we talked about in leadership skills. There's no real involvement, and it's only communication is really only relevant when someone's challenged, and then often that leads to the one above, the high turnover. It's about that financial based rewards, often bonuses, overtime, rather than any focus on motivational things that we talked about in the soft side, and we'll be focusing more on motivation later. It gives little empowerment. It's just do the job. That's what you're here for, and that's what you paid for, as I tell you to do it, because it's an autocratic approach, very directive, with a power culture which is closed, where the manager is definitely in charge, and there's a strong hierarchy. You have to go through the chain of command to get to each other, and this leads to a soft approach which is employee focused, and a hard approach which is focused on efficiency and performance. And these are just generalizations, and every single one of those characteristics doesn't pop up in or manifest itself in that people management, but it is about the approach you take towards the people management, whether it's employee focused or focused purely on performance and efficiency. So what about approaches to team management? Well, these can get mixed up, but we're going to look at three clear types: command and control, engage and create, and Econ 101. So focus on command and control, as the title suggests, based on a military concept, but until sort of 20th century it was commonly used in commercial and private workplaces, and that's what people thought. You command and control your employees. The team leader supervisor would instruct people to do what they should do, and if they refused or they didn't achieve, they'd be punished, or at least not rewarded. And we'll look more at that when we talk about motivation later on. But the leader had autocratic power. He was the powerful person who ruled using his authority. Problems. First of all, people don't really like it much. And as things have developed in the workplace, and we have people who are employed because of their expertise and their skills, those sort of people don't find it reasonable to be managed like that. And it really bothers them, because they're used to being in control of themselves and they've got the expertise. Another drawback is a practical one, is that the manager literally does not have enough time to micromanage everybody at that level. There isn't enough time. Micromanagement lowers people's morale, and due to team members being belittled or sitting on the manager sitting on the shoulder all the time, every time they make a little mistake there, it can result in poor performance and a high rate of turnover, which links well with the hard side of people management. Next, there's engage and create. Came really due to the limitations of command and control. And as the workplace changed and we started to have people with more specific skills and expertise, and things were less manual, and an alternative strategy came along, as we say, engage and create. The method is about encouraging participation, discussion, contribution from the workforce, engaging with other team members to build a stronger sense of unity and of teamwork. And hopefully this then increases productivity and accountability of each team member as the team builds and they rely on each other more, and it builds towards team success. Fits better with the softer people management we talked about. And then there's Econ 101. This is where the team leader assumes that everyone is motivated by financial rewards alone, just getting paid, and often that's because they feel like that. So it might be a very, very sales bonus orientated environment. The problem is that you're issuing rewards, or if people are not getting the rewards, that's seen as a punishment. And the main drawback is that it doesn't really focus on any other motivation but monetary motivation. So nothing about personal satisfaction, doing a good job. And also, the more and the longer you use those rewards and punishments, the bigger the carrots the rewards need to be, and the larger the sticks need to be to issue the punishments, because people will start to expect the bonuses, start to recognise the punishments and become used to them. And it doesn't encourage team building, and it does cause and lead to demotivation and conflict. Not everyone is motivated by the same factors, and one of the key things it doesn't focus on is intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. It's focusing just on the extrinsic. We're going to talk more about motivation a little bit later on, but if for those who are not clear, intrinsic motivation is about your own motivations, your natural desires to do well, job satisfaction, self-pride, worth. And extrinsic motivation comes from outside, so it'll be about bonuses, pay, etc. It's a known fact that intrinsic motivation is the one that lasts the longest and that keeps you going and makes you do a good job. But if we offer people money and bonuses all the time, they just start to become used to it, and it doesn't become a bonus anymore. We'll talk about that more in a book by a person called Alfie Cohen, Punishment by Reward, when we talk about the motivational factors. So first little activity here. We've talked there about all the bits and pieces to do with people management and team management, and as I said at the beginning of the team management, although we looked at 3 clear ones, command and control, engage and create, and Econ 101, bits and pieces from them can get mixed together, just like we talked about the hard and soft people management and how bits can be mixed together. It doesn't have to be every single factor that's included, but what we can say, and what has been mentioned in all of it, is that it's about engagement of individuals on the people side, and it's about engagement of the team and the team management side, and it's a critical part, engagement. So I want you to watch the video on engaging your team. Make notes, because they'll be useful for you later on, and we'll review it when we come back on the next session. And then I want you to complete activity sheet 1. Activity sheet 1 is about you starting to identify what you do for individuals and what you do for the team in your management responsibilities. So think about why, what you do it for, and then list them on the sheet. Now there's a table there, or you can do it as a spider diagram or a mind map, but you need to start focusing on what you do, which is your role for the individual, and what you do in your role as a team for development of the team. So see you after you've completed that activity and uploaded it.